Cost of production refers to the amount of expenditure, incurred by an entrepreneur or a businessman, under factors of production in order to come out with what? The production of goods and services. And this factor of production you have what? You have land, we have labor, and we have capital. So the amount of money that this entrepreneur will spend on the factor of production, talk about we spend on land, labor, and capital is what we call cost of production in order to come out what? The production of a particular good or service. Now the cost of production can be split into two. Can be subdivided into two. We have what we call the explicit cost, as well as the implicit cost. The explicit cost as well as the implicit cost. Now listen carefully. When we talk of the explicit cost, what does this mean? The explicit costs here, these are the contractual payments made by the firm to factor owners, such as rent, wages, interest, and profit. In fact, another way of defining explicit cost is simply to define the cost of production. And the cost of production they are also known as what? As direct cost of production. So they can also be called direct cost of production. And it is usually described as what? The accountant's cost of production. The accountant cost of production. The reason why we're using accountant cost of production because we're going to see it in two different individuals. While the implicit cost here refers to the opportunity cost of a firm using their own factor of production. That is when the factor of production are owned by a firm and the firm is not obliged to pay for their factor unit. Remember the factor of production, we have land, we have labor, we have capital. Now, if all this is owned by the entrepreneur himself, where little or no money, in fact no money is paid on this factor of production, that is what is called implicit cost. That's why I see the writer there said it refers to the opportunity cost of using factors of production owned by the firm. A good example is like a man using his house or his premises or his land to carry out production. Another example is an entrepreneur using his own capital to carry out production rather than going to a bank to take a loan, but using his own capital to carry out production. Unlike this entrepreneur using his house, rather than going to rent a house in which he will be paying rent, he's now using his own house for production. And also, an entrepreneur too might have employed, let's say an individual owns a particular shop, might have employed a receptionist, but he is using his wife, for example, using his wife as a secretary in that company. Rather than paying a secretary, the wife is there carrying out the services as a secretary with no payment. That is what? Implicit cost, the opportunity cost of factor of production owned by the firm. And this can also be termed as what? The economist cost. economist cost of production. In fact, when we talk of the economist cost of production, it will include both the explicit and the implicit cost of production. Now, let us look at a small practical example, and we're going to see how profit is being calculated based on these two individuals, based on their accountant, and also based on what? And economy. If these two individuals are involved in a business, they will have different amounts of profit. Why? Because they have two different things that they now incur as a part of their cost of production. As a matter of fact, an accountant will rely only on what? The explicit cost as a cost of production, but an economist will rely both on what? The explicit cost and the implicit cost, both of the explicit cost and the implicit cost. Which means that if, in case this business was done by an accountant, if he is using his house, automatically he will not include it in his cost of production. If he's using his wife as a secretary, he will not include it in his cost of production. But to an economist, if he is using his house, he will still have to deduct money from it as if he is paying that house. If he is using his wife, he still has to deduct money as if he is paying the wife for her services. Let us look below and see a practical example. Okay, now after seeing the implicit cost and the explicit cost, we are going to solve this example. Say Mr. Lawrence could have earned 800,000 francs at the end of the year as a part-time teacher with Ohipopo, but he decided to operate a poultry project worth 4 million francs CFA. The current rate of remunerating saving in all financial institutions stands at 5% per annum. He receives a total revenue of 7 million francs CFA. Calculate Mr. Lawrence's profit from A, the accountant's view, B, the economist's view. Solution. Now let us answer this question. Now, listen carefully. What we need to identify here first, we need to identify explicit cost. Let me denote explicit cost as EC, and also we have to identify implicit cost. From there now, we can answer our question very well. Now, listen carefully. Let's go back to our definition. Please follow me carefully. We said explicit costs. These are costs of production not owned by the entrepreneur. So from this now, we need to identify our explicit cost. Listen carefully. This one now is grammar and not economics. It's English language. Listen carefully. Mr. Lawrence could have earned 800,000 francs. What that means that he is foregoing. Foregoing simply means it is explicit cost. Foregoing simply means it is explicit cost. That is, he is foregoing 800,000 francs at the end of the year. What that means that if Mr. Lawrence could have worked as a part-time teacher with Ohipopo, he would have earned 800,000 francs. But listen, could have earned, which means that he is not working. That means that maybe he abandoned or he rejected their offer, but he decided to operate a poultry project. Now, which means that the poultry project that he decided to operate is 4 million francs. That is the one that he has actually spent. 4 million francs. That is now explicit cost. 4 million francs. 4 million francs. 4 million francs. That's explicit cost. Now listen carefully. The explicit cost is talking about what? The money that he has, and he has done what? Put it in the project. He has spent it in the project. Now, the current rate of remunerating savings is talking about what? The interest that he would have made in saving this money. The interest that he would have made in saving this money is what? Is 5%. 5% of the 4 million francs. Which means that if he had saved the money in the bank, which he did not, which means that he has forgone 5% interest. He has forgone 5% interest of the 4 million francs that he could have received as interest from the bank. What is 5% of 4 million? 5% of 4 million. 5% of 4 million is equal to, which means that he has forgone 200,000 francs as what? As interest. If he had saved the money in the bank. If he had saved the money in the bank. So I strongly believe these three figures are the only figures given in the question. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now from there we can now answer our question. The first question says we should calculate it the accountant view, accountant profit, accountant, permit me to write accountant like that, accountant profit. Now what's the formula to calculate profit based to an accountant? Is total revenue minus explicit cost. Minus explicit costs. Minus explicit costs. So what is the total revenue? Let's go back to our question. The total revenue stands at 7 million. So the total revenue here is now 7 million francs CFA minus what is the explicit cost? The explicit cost is there stated very clear. 4 million. So what is the accountant's profit? The accountant profit is now 3 million. So to the accountant, he will make 3 million francs as profit. He will make 3 million francs as profit. So that is the profit now made by the accountant. Now let us go to the economist. B. Economist profit. Economist profit. Now to an economist, profit is calculated as total revenue minus explicit costs plus implicit costs. Explicit cost plus implicit costs. Now, based on this, we all know our total revenue, which is 7 million francs CFA minus our explicit cost here stands at what? At 4 million francs plus what is our implicit cost? Let's go up now. That's why I said we should. It is very obvious that explicit cost is that. Now implicit cost, we have 800,000 and 200,000. We have seen where 200,000 francs is coming from. Okay, so that is that 800,000 plus 200,000. When you now do all the summation, 7 million minus when you do all the summation now, this will be what? This plus this will be 5 million. 5 million. So to an economist, he will realize a profit of 2 million francs CFA. The profit of an accountant is always going to be larger than that of an economist.